Alright guys, Friday the 19th of February 2021. Welcome back to the garage. And we're just about to start part 4 of the reassembly phase on my 1968 Triumph TR250 project. And the first thing I wanted to do was to thank all of you, my viewers and subscribers, for helping me to get Moss Motors on board by sponsoring and partnering with my channel. So without you, the viewers and subscribers, that would have never happened. So thanks again, thanks very much for all your support of the channel, and hopefully we'll see big things from it in the future. Anyway, we're off to do a little bit of sandblasting in the snow this morning, and we've got our bonnet catch here to do, and we've got this lid for the overflow bottle that we are missing. So we're going to blast that up and paint both of these. This will probably go into aluminum colored paint, and this will just be black paint. Find a grommet for that as well. So let's break out the sandblasting equipment, and we'll blast outside in this snow. Alright, those two pieces sandblasted up very nicely, so we'll now get a quick coat of paint on them. So I'm going to get the heat gun out to give them a little help here with some heat, and I'll try to find some paint in the cupboard. We're running a little low on supplies, but pretty sure I can find something to get this done. Alright, painted parts are now drying, and before we get to install this bonnet catch, you may recall I said previously that I wanted to get this body tag installed on the firewall. So that goes here. I can see one of the holes at least, and I probably got rid of one of the other holes when I was doing a pretty extensive repair job on this firewall. If you go back and look at my videos, I pretty much had this whole corner of the car apart at one point in time. Anyway, we'll locate another hole. We'll drill it slightly, and we'll got the rivet gun over here, and a selection of rivets. So we'll pick through those, and we will attach that plate as best we can. All right, here we go. Shit. Big scratch. Well, I don't have to worry about putting my first scratch in the car anymore. So that was pretty careless. So we're going to have to do a touch up here. Anyway, that plate is on now. Unfortunately, just being careless cost me. And I knew, well actually when the rivet popped, it just shot the gun down. I guess because it was resting up against the seal here, and it just shot the gun down and I didn't control it. So, hey, it happens. It's going to be expected when you're assembling with fresh paint that you're going to end up scratching something and have to touch something up. So not in a critical area at least, so we'll touch it up and it'll look fine, but just disappointing, but hey, we'll get over it. I can hardly tell anything happened now. I just brushed a little paint on there because it was bugging me to see the scratch, so we'll fix it properly, but I just put that on there temporarily as it was going to drive me crazy otherwise. So we just broke out, opened a small can of paint that we had left and just a little brush. So yeah, from 10 feet away, looks great. Alright, just going to remove the battery box quickly. Again, that's not the correct battery that's in there anyway, so I'm going to pull that out. That actually goes back in the trailer. That's my winch battery. Because we need to tap out these holes here for that bonnet catch, and there's one way down here, and this box is going to interfere with, so we're just going to pull that out temporarily. We'll tap that hole and then we'll put the box back in. We'll leave the battery out. There's no sense having the battery in there when it's the wrong battery, and it's heavy to lift it in and out. Alright, we've got the bonnet catch installed loosely. We're going to have to play around with the location of that. Once we get the bonnet fitted, we're going to have to make some adjustments to that, so we'll do that later on, obviously. I have the cable, the regular bonnet cable pull attached. I'm just going to add a little trunnion to the end of the cable here as a safety so it doesn't pull through this trunnion. That's generally what I've done on my TR6. I'm not sure whether that's actually calling for that from a stock perspective, but it's an added safety that I normally add to the cable just in case. So we'll go ahead and add that extra trunnion, and then we'll work on installing our little safety pull over on this side. Bonnet cable's hooked up, and let me just grab this down here if I can, and video at the same time. Functional. And the safety is on as well, so that looks good. And I just put the battery box and the hold down back in there temporarily until we get the proper battery. So let's move on to something else. Let's have a little discussion over in this area. Alright, here's a decision I've been sort of stewing over for the last little while, and I've made a decision, but I thought I'd just talk you through the thought process first. So this is regarding the commission plate that goes here on the inner wheel well, just right in this location here. So the discussion was, should I go with my original commission plate, which is obviously showing some wear after 50 years, 50 plus years, or should I go with a new plate and have one re-stamped? So I've actually got another plate here. So this plate here is generally, I think, sold by most of the vendors out there, and you can see how far off of it, how far off it is as far as being a facsimile. But I had this one, a guy made a run of these, I don't know how many years ago now, probably 8 to 10 years ago, that are fairly close to the original tag. So I was thinking of having one re-stamped and putting the new tag on. So after I posted this question on my TR5 and TR250 group on Facebook, you can see that opinions are pretty divided on this topic, and I think it's split about 50-50 on people wanting me to go with a newly stamped tag or people wanting me to stick with my original tag. So I think what I've decided in the end is we're going to go with the original tag, and that'll keep a piece of history along with the car. And if it bothers me, or I got lots of negative comments, not like that's going to change my mind anyway, but if it bothers me in particular, I'll swap it out for a newly stamped plate. So we've always got these in the back. We can keep them in stock in the glove box if we want, but I think we'll put the original tag back on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that now more carefully. We're going to actually tape the area off around this so we don't have the same issue we just had with the body plate. All right, I'm almost afraid to video this now. Anyway, here we go. I can hear some of you screaming, "No! Don't put that plate on." Okay, careful. One. 2. I'm going to get knocked down in concourse points for not using the right rivets. That's a joke. I can appreciate guys who are going for the concourse look, but that's not for me. So I've just used a regular aluminum rivet. And I think there are specific rivets that guys will actually look for so they don't lose points in a concourse competition. And let me give you a little closer look. For a minute there I thought I had it upside down. Alright, a little history to go with the car. Let me just clean that up a little bit. A little water spot there. But looks a little ragged, but hey, part of the history of the car. I think it'll just be fine. Maybe you think differently. Alright guys, we've just taken the driver's side rear wheel off in order to get to the outlet for the gas tank, and we're hooking up the soft line from the hard line, and we're just trying to figure out a good routing for that. And let me take you in a little bit closer and we'll come back and I'll tell you what I'm thinking of doing. Because of my aftermarket exhaust, I think it's going to be a little bit too close to where the fuel line would normally run, so I'm thinking of doing a little bit different run on the fuel line, and I can probably utilize my additional support tubes to be able to run that. So let me get down there a little closer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so I think you can probably see where the hard line comes out of the bottom of the tank there. And normally that would go directly down to the frame rail and run up to the front where it connects with the hard line that runs along the chassis. Now you can see how close my aftermarket ANSA exhaust is there. So I'm thinking that I might want to actually stay away from that location and actually run the fuel line up along my chassis support tubes here. I'll just probably zip tie it, and then over across and then down a little bit further forward. I think that'll probably work. It'll clear all the reciprocating parts like the axle shafts here. I won't have to worry about that, and all the suspension components if I do that. So yeah, I think we'll end up doing something like that. I'll figure out a routing and I'll bring you back. Right, I think I'm pretty happy with this routing, just along that cross member piece there. Just have it sort of zip tied up just so it doesn't hang down. But it's got a little loop to it. There's no kinks. It goes over top of the differential carrier. And then it comes down just in front of the brake line. You can see it there. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm sorry, I know the camera angle is not great, but hard to video down in here. You can see it just in front of the brake union. And then that comes out just right there, right at the line. So we'll throw a clamp on that and we'll call that good to go. Another job done. Alright guys, we're looking at installing our gas cap now, and unfortunately the previous owner polished this. I believe this should be sort of dull looking, but obviously this has been slightly polished. It is the correct cap, I believe, for a TR250, just a little polished. So we may have to continue on with that and polish that a little bit more to get it looking a little bit better. But other than that, it's not too bad. It's in pretty good shape. It's not pitted or anything. So just looking at these seals. So this is a seal that I got from Rimmer Brothers. And obviously it's a lot smaller than the seal that was already on the bottom of this cap. And to be honest with you, if I use this seal, let me just put this here, it's not going to really cover much of the interior of this cap like this seal does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reutilize this seal. It's actually still in pretty good shape. I have some rubber care here, so we're just going to spray it down with rubber care. And it's actually fairly supple anyway. There's no cracks in it, so I think it's good to reuse. But we'll just add a little bit of rubber care before we put it back on the car, and then before we put the cap inside of that. All right. Alright, there's the rubber seal, the old rubber seal in place. We're just going to grab the cap. So my understanding, and I could be wrong, and I know this is a big discussion on the TR6 on how the cap was oriented. So I think my belief is the cap on the 250 is oriented like this. So straight up and down. the TR6, there's some that say it should be mounted something like that. I think I have my TR6 like this. But anyway, or it could be the other way around. But I'm going to attempt to put this here. And what I'll do before I tighten that down, I will consult the TR5 TR250 forum on Facebook. And I'll ask if that is the correct direction for the gas cap. Or maybe I'll consult some old literature from the sales literature from the day and see if I can actually see where it's supposed to be actually located. Or I can check my Pigott book, the originality guide, and see if there might be a picture of the gas cap in there. So let me see if I can just push this down. Alright, we've got the cap installed finally. It was a bit of a struggle. That hose was just a little misaligned. And easy way would be to just loosen off the gas tank and tip it back a little bit. But I was trying to avoid that, and we managed to do so. So it was just hanging up on the lip a tiny bit. So I will not tighten that down yet. We'll confirm the position of it before we do so. And then I've got the rear wiring harness back here, so we're getting pretty close to running that. And once I run that, then I can put the back panel on in position and get that out of the way off my coffee table in the dining room where it's residing currently. So I think we'll call it a night out here. It's just coming up to 8:45, and I'm getting kind of hungry, so we'll call it a night and we will get back out here tomorrow. Plans are rear wiring harness as mentioned, that back panel as mentioned. Then I think we're going to try to get the heater box in, and probably going to try to get the front wiring harness in. That is my goal or my objective for the weekend, is to get both front and rear harnesses run at least, and that heater box in. So that would be good if I can get that done, and any other little jobs that come along the way. All right, have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.